Yeah, unfortunately, Jets' worst fears confirmed here. Carl Lawson, the defensive lineman they signed for big money in free agency, did rupture his Achilles tendon in practice today, and obviously will have to miss the entire season as a result. A devastating loss for the Jets' defense. He had been a star of their camp, and they had high hopes for him for this season.
I see dead people. Hated to love it, the underdogs on top. And I'm gon' shine, homie, until my heart stop. Go ahead, envy me. I'm Raps MVP, and I ain't going nowhere, so you keep the underdogs on top. The underdogs on top. Go ahead, envy me. The underdogs on top. And I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know me.
Rockin' like the
Rockin' like a 6 on top. Whole club rockin' like a 6.
rockin' like the
Rockin' like a 6 on top. Whole club rockin' like a 6. Rockin' like a 6 on top. The underdogs on top.
rockin' like the
Rockin' like a 6 on top. This nigga did it again. Let me put you on a game.
What's going on, Jets Nation? CJ the Painkiller D. Simone here, and you are watching Jets Guru. Now, give it up for your host, Mr. Daniel Smith!
Yeah, unfortunately.
What is going on, everyone out there? Thanks for tuning in. As always, appreciate all the support, especially the growth that we're seeing on our Twitter pages and also on our audio podcast. So appreciate all the support out there for you guys. As you know, it's a little bit more of a somber tone for this camp update for the rash of injuries that rolled through Jets camp today. Unfortunately, everybody knows the news with Carl Lawson and him tearing his knee. It really sucks for the New York Jets, and for that young man who we've discussed many times on this program in the offseason. We talked about it again. His responsibility that was given to him each and every year with Cincinnati just kept increasing because of the ability that he was able to show and the explosiveness that he was able to show, even though he didn't necessarily have the frame of a prototypical defensive end like you would normally see. And so it really, really sucks to see him go because he was the first free agent that the Jets really targeted. He was their prize guy that he wanted. They felt that they got a young man who was just coming into his prime professionally. And, he was ready to take on the role from all the stats, all the indications each and every year. Again, PFF getting better, all gradable stats getting better. He comes to the Jets, has an absolutely outstanding training camp to start his tenure here with the Jets, and it sucks. He was tearing it up. I mean, he was giving Mekhi Becton, who looked practically unmovable last year at times. I mean, the only thing that stopped Becton last year was himself. He was really just being injured. But now you saw Lawson come in and really, really push Mekhi Becton. And, to see him gone like this, it just really, really sucks. It really does, guys. I mean, this guy was going to be an integral part, and then he ruptures the Achilles. I mean, it really sucks. The only good thing about the New York Jets and their roster, the way it's set up, they have a lot of rotational pieces on that defensive end, including backers that they can send. Expect guys like Bryce Huff. Expect them to take the next step up. You saw he had 2 sacks against the Giants in their last game that they played. Again, it was preseason, but we're not talking about the stats so much as the way it looked. And what I like about Bryce Huff is he's able to get low without losing momentum, even when he's facing bigger left tackles or right tackles. When you look at him play, he gets low without losing that momentum and goes right to the quarterback, has excellent tracking skills. He's a guy that, it's his time now to step up and be the next Carl Lawson, like Cincinnati developed and recognized. Maybe Bryce Huff can be that guy for us. Lawson is still going to be on this team next year. But again, when you have that type of injury, you just got to pray. Most of these guys, I mean, the sports medicine is completely different than it was in the 80s and, in the 70s and beforehand, so these guys come back and sometimes they're even better. So, it's an explosive position to play where seconds matter. where how you come off the line matters. And so he's going to have to rehab this, and it may take him a while to get back. You may not even see the real true Carl Lawson until the final year of his contract. And then, we don't know with any outside external things that happen in the world. That might be the best thing for him, similar to what happened with Mosley, where he was able to fully rehab, because of COVID. He sat out. And so it's unfortunate because each and every year there's a guy that we bring in that's supposed to be a leader of this team, a big power maker for this team, a guy who's going to come out and do big things, cause a lot of disruption, like Mosley. And then he's ultimately not there for you when you need him. The next man up kind of stuff does get old, hearing that, obviously. But it's an explosive game with these guys. They practice and they train year round. They're bigger, stronger, faster. You put your foot in the ground and you're twitching, you're moving, you're going against guys bigger, and strong just like you. And things like this are going to happen, unfortunately. And that's why it's super important for the Jets and many teams. And the ones that we would be emulating are the ones that Joe Douglas came from. The Eagles on their Super Bowl run, and then the Ravens and what they were able to do. You look at the Ravens, they let defensive players go all the time. It's because they have a system in place. They have scouting in place that they trust. And so, the Jets are trying to be that type of a team. And, Jonathan Franklin Myers, Kyle Phillips will come back. So there's options out there on the team. Ronald Blair was an integral part of the rotation with the 49ers, and that's why Saleh brought him over. And so I expect these guys to step up because, when you're watching practice, Lawson isn't the only one that shows up. There's other guys that have been showing up in camp too. There's other guys out there that are making plays. This team was built to fit a scheme and a system. It wasn't built to bring in faces and names and make highlights and be back paper talk and chatter. That's not how this team was built. And that's why it's very unique. And I don't think it's going to hurt the Jets as much as we feel it does right now when you lose a player of that caliber and importance to the football team, right? So looking forward and moving forward from that, we just, again, I don't think Zuniga might be the answer, but this is going to be options for guys. And we've seen it over the last few years, linebackers and defensive linemen going down for the New York Jets and the next guy stepping up. I mean, we've seen it all over the place the last couple of years from the Jets defense. And so we need it again. And, what better than having a guy like Robert Saleh, who, is a player's coach, a guy that knows defense, a guy that started in the tape room, worked his way up. He knows how to call plays. He knows how to deploy his defense. He's got to make the proper adjustments. Jeff Ulbricht's got to make the proper adjustments and hope for the best. And I mean, listen, Q Will is going to be a disruptor whether Lawson's there or not. That was just the icing on the cake. So we'll see who's going to step up. Is it going to be Franklin Myers? Is it going to be Huff? You guys tell me in the chat. You let me know who you think is going to be the guy who's going to kind of take over and have an impact for the New York Jets while Carl Lawson is gone and rehabbing that ruptured Achilles. So it's hard to transition to anything else. I mean, Denzel Mims, I believe, was parted off as well, but he is day to day. And I believe one other player, I can't get his name. He's a new player. I think it's Isaiah Dunn. I want to say, I think he tore his knee as well and sprained something else. So he's done for the year. It's a sad business, man. I mean, this is why, you go out there and you try to get paid as much as you can because, some players come back, they're exactly the same. Some players, come back and they're not. So we're just going to see what happens. Nobody got killed or anything like that. So it's not life-threatening. It's just you see someone who works really hard and get to the point where they're about to shine and then it gets cut out from under them. So we'll see what type of person Lawson is, and I'm sure he'll work really hard to get back and be the same ascending player that he was. As far as the actual practices, I mean, the Jets got beat up a little bit playing the Packers, and it's expected, right? I mean, listen, the Jets, everyone's been so happy with the New York Jets offseason, getting rid of Adam Gase, bringing in Zach Wilson, all the defensive changes that were made and the schemes that were put in place. But we have to remember that this team, okay, they won 2 games last year, guys. You got to have some kind of clarity so you don't fall so hard when it happens. Again, a team that I'd say is better than most teams if they had 2 wins because of all the resources that they had in picks and cap space. But at the same time, I mean, honestly, how many wins are you expecting for a team with a rookie quarterback, a new coach, new schemes all across the board, new players? I mean, it's tough. It really is. I mean, you start looking at what they have to face. And so I was expecting the Jets to compete a little bit, which they did with the defensive line, put some pressure on Aaron Rodgers, absolutely for sure. But mostly the Pack pushed us around. They're a team that won 13 games. They're a team that could possibly play for a Super Bowl. The Jets are playing for respectability. This is a team that hasn't been in the playoffs in 10 years. So we got to kind of get a grip here when it comes to the expectations of the team. And look, again, for individual storylines, could Zach Wilson be a player that could be a rookie of the year candidate, similar to Justin Herbert, be a guy who you can count on, a guy that, you don't have to search for your next quarterback yet again for the next, 10, 20, 30 years. How long are we going to go until finally the Jets find their guy? So at the same time, I'm optimistic about the play, but I just don't think the win total is going to be what I'm kind of seeing floating out there on the boards. And I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, great, because I want them to do that. But I also have to have some kind of expectation of what it's going to take and what it's going to be like, especially playing in the AFC East and playing in the AFC, which to me is the dominant conference in the NFL right now. And you have a lot of good quarterbacks that are playing there too. So it's not going to be easy. So they got pushed around. One of the storylines that was a little bit concerning, people could say, oh, it's camp, it's camp, it's camp. How long are you going to say it's camp until the season is upon you? I mean, listen, they're playing big boy games here in about 3 weeks. I'm seeing people saying now, oh, don't play Zach Wilson more than a quarter. Uh, this kid has never played in the NFL before. He's learning a new system. The team is learning him, and you only want him to play a quarter after only playing literally 2 or 3 series the last preseason game against the Giants' backups. I think the Jets would do themselves a good service to let Zach Wilson play at least half of football. At minimum, honestly, I'd like to see him play 3 quarters here. And that's just me. I want to see this kid ready week 1, ready to go. Baby footing around and then throwing him out week 1 against the Panthers because you're scared he's going to get hurt in camp. I don't think that's the way to go. Letting someone almost like Justin Fields, who was able to go out there, and there's a lot that's riding on him too, to go out there and prove yourself, to know. Remember what Zach Wilson said in his press conference when he threw an interception in training camp. And he said, listen, I want to know what I can and cannot do. What can I do? And what can I get away with? And so you got to test those limits. Well, there's a different speed when you're, doing drills and when you're doing 7-on-7s and stuff like that against your own team than when you're actually playing against a team, and especially when you're playing against a team's number ones. So I honestly really, really would like Zach Wilson to go out there and play. I mean, you got to play. I mean, if he's made out of glass, you're going to figure it out eventually. This kid's got to get ready for the season so he's prepared and he doesn't fall behind and he doesn't seem flustered as he gets into week 2 and 3 because he doesn't feel comfortable with the amount of reps he's gotten against, really good talent. And so I believe he should play at least a half, 3 quarters. I would play him, especially because they don't have the extra preseason game anymore. And remember, the third game or the game, the last game is always a walkthrough anyways, where you saw most of the backups. So now are you telling me you want to throw Zach Wilson in there against nobodies? Technically, I'm going to throw out nobodies because these guys are all professionals and they're really talented. But you know what I'm saying? And then if he gets hurt in that game and you're like, oh, well, I was trying to get him. Well, you should have got him work against the ones when the Packers ones were out there. I think if the Packers ones are out there, then let him stay out there with the ones. As long as Aaron Rodgers is out there, and or even not even I would say Aaron Rodgers, right? Because there's it's a totally different category. But as long as Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love is out there competing, I'd like to see him, play back and forth, get into a little bit of a rhythm against one of these players and not just come out there, throw a little 5-yard turnaround, comebacks and curls and little things like that. I want to see him get loose and be comfortable making all the NFL throws against the talent that's presented, and not just in camp against his own players. So that's really important. And Mekhi Becton is struggling right now. I think the count, if I'm not mistaken, was Mekhi Becton gave up 12 sacks in 2 days. That was the official count. I think it was 7 on day one. It was 5 on day two. And it could have even been more, they said, because of the way the practices are structured. You can't hit the quarterback. But then there's a little bit in between there. So give or take, he gave up probably anywhere between 9 to 12 sacks over the 2 practices against Preston Smith. And there was Zadarius, I forgot the other guy, Zadarius on their team, who wasn't even, I don't think he was even playing, and he's their star pass rusher. And so the way I see it is listen, Becton's going to have to get it together a little bit. I mean, this is it's a different type of blocking scheme. It's one that I thought that Becton could play still, even though he's a big guy, he was still athletic and movable into the second level. Well, he's going to have to be a little bit more of that and be a little bit more versatile on the outside because he's struggling. And it wasn't just against Carl Lawson. So we can't really use that excuse anymore if he continues these struggles, obviously. But they have to figure it out. It's going to take time to gel. When AVT gets back, obviously should be easier. But Connor McGovern, I mean, some of the comments that he made after the game, were a little bit puzzling. Now, I wasn't there, okay? So I can't say 100%. But from all the reports and the little video clips and the things that we were able to dig up and get, McGovern thought that they blocked well. But from all reports is that the Jets' offensive line really struggled against this matchup. Now, it's one team, and it's one team that had 13 wins last year and is really good. And they're probably going to make another good playoff run here, most likely again. So read into it what you will, but there's individual matchups and performances that is worth noting considering the season is practically around the corner. Definitely. And so Zach played okay. I think he went, what was it, 13 for 25, a couple drops though on him the first day, and then it was 10 for 18 the second day. So not bad. A couple good plays there, here and there. I think what was even more valuable, though, was the conversations between Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson. And what was interesting is, Aaron Rodgers always gets tabbed as being an outsider and not really helpful to the process. But knowing LaFleur and, the connection between both coaches there, and everything is new, I think they probably extended a little bit more knowledge to the Jets than I think most teams would. And Aaron actually went out and said that he wanted to look at some of the things that they were doing and gave them some pointers because they basically have similar offenses. I mean, the LaFleur brothers, so they're sharing a lot of the same principles, the Shanahan principles. And so it's very interesting. And so I think helping Zach with his 2-minute drills and saying, hey, man, and considering how, Aaron Rodgers was someone that Zach looked up to and modeled his game. And so, and that's like kind of the tab that everyone has been saying, the comparable, if there's a height, it would be Aaron Rodgers, and a low, there's a host of other quarterbacks that have been mentioned with him. And so I think having a guy telling you, listen, this is the offense practically that we run with a little bit of a different terminology, tiny bit of a different swing. This is how I orchestrate my 2-minute drills. This is how I look at it. This is how I prepare. This is how I might bring the team down the field on third down. All these things, I believe, are valuable, especially because the Jets don't have a veteran quarterback. Josh Johnson, yes, but I mean a guy who's been in some serious games, winning serious things, competing for championships and all that type of stuff. It's invaluable, I think, for these practices to happen. It's just unfortunate that we lost a few players, especially Denzel Mims, right? Too, on that note, because he had such a good game against the Giants. Was it 3 for 55 or 52, something like that? And he had such a good game, and he basically showed you what he did in the first half last year when they actually featured him before the second half, and the Jets completely fell apart. So I believe that he's right on track. It's just always his health. It's always something with him. And it's unfortunate because we've seen players like that before, and we hope that it's just little nagging things. It said it was day to day. So, I mean, I'm assuming that he's going to be ready for Saturday. It's a big game for him. If he could show out again and have another performance, he can get himself a starting position for this team. It's a very competitive room. Vincent Smith is out there. Malone, I heard, had some good time out there. Barrios has made some play. I mean, obviously Elijah Moore, Corey Davis is the number one. Keelan Cole, Jamison Crowder. I mean, it's a stacked room. It's competitive, and he may be playing well, but health is a huge, huge factor for this team. And so, this training camp it's been eye opening, and all of that excitement that the eager excitement that Jet fans have is slowly turning to, okay, well, the season's about to start, and then the storylines are going to come, the injuries are going to come, the interceptions, the tip balls, the close missed field goals. Like, these things are going to start coming soon, and so be prepared again for what you're going to see. But I mean, you gotta love the youth movement that the Jets have right now, and there's a lot to be hopeful for. All the players that we've been discussing over the last couple of weeks. Really do think it's a good draft class. At safety, I think Joyner got banged up a little bit. Q Will made a return, so that's good. You lose Lawson, but now Quinnen Williams back. So as a defensive unit, you're like, oh, we lose a guy that we really think is going to be a high performance player. Now we get one of our best players back. I don't know if he'll be playing Saturday or how much, but he's back in pads and he's playing and practicing. So you got to be excited about that. And so, I mean, I don't know, Vincenzo. I don't think it's the strength and conditioning coach, because if I'm not mistaken, I think, didn't they turn that over anyways? So honestly, and this is my honest opinion about athletes in this day, back in the day, players used to take time off. All sports, baseball, basketball, football, they used to take time off. The off season was an actual off season to let the body rest, to let the mind rest. These guys are tuned up in the gym every day, and in one way you have to be, but in another way it's a lot of torque. It's a lot of reps on the body. Like, I know that we're not robots, and there's not a rep count, on our Achilles, or a rep count on our knees. Well, I've used my knees, a million times, so it's gone now. I know it's not like that, but there is something to it. You have guys who are more muscular. They're bigger and they're muscular. And then your muscles, your tendons, your bones have to hold up now this extra mass that really shouldn't be there for a lot of these guys. And then they're making, quick twitch movements, high performance movements, play after play after play, while dehydrated, while in the sun. There's a lot that goes against these guys physically. And then, it goes out. You put your foot down the wrong way, your hip flies out a little too far, someone falls on you. A lot of these injuries, they're untouched. They just put their foot down in the dirt a certain way and turn, and then poof, it just pops. These guys are like highly fine-tuned. I think off seasons, like, from players, that what I used to hear, the older players, training camps were hard, really, really hard and grueling. And they used to have 2-a-days and all this stuff, because you had the off season to kind of relax and get your body ready. And you use training camp and the offs and when you got back in those training camps to get back into shape. And then as you get going, then you start moving and getting the progression going. But now these guys are tuned up all year long, and I just think it's too much for their bodies. You're seeing too many prominent players getting hurt all the time. When I was growing up, I just didn't feel like I saw that many players getting hurt, prominent players. And they could say just because it's a faster game, but it's not. A lot of these guys are getting hurt untouched or not really in a position where they're getting hit hard or faster. It's just the fact that I just think the athlete's too highly tuned, and it is physical, and things are tweaking and popping and pulling, and it sucks. It to me, the NFL roster, I wish there could be a legit minor leagues for the NFL. I think it would be amazing if they can do it. They say that players get paid too much for the sport, so you don't want to waste them. But these are guys that maybe they may not make the team anyways, but they're getting work. So they're not sitting stagnant, just practicing. They're actually playing in games. And you can move guys up and down and or maybe even have where it's a legit competition, because you expand the rosters and you give people, more opportunities, because it's such a grueling season. It sucks, man. You prepare all year, you do everything right, and one or two guys go out and you're like, that's it. The whole 17 weeks is just over because one guy is out now. You're like, there's got to be a safety net for that. Like, it's just, especially entertainment wise, watching it, some of the best quarterbacks in the league start, tearing their legs and their arms. And you're like, what am I watching here? I'm watching a bunch of backups. Well, maybe if you expand the roster, you don't have to cut certain guys because you don't need to make room for an important position. You can say, I can take this guy on or something. It's just it's a really it's just there. I guess there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just the way the world works, especially the physicality world when you're banging heads with 6'4", 320-pound people. But it really, really, really does suck. But with that being said, there are some guys out there that are still grinding for spots and starting positions. And one of them is Mr. Guidry, number 40 for the New York Jets. And I know in Krista's corner here, she's going to be talking about Mr. Guidry. And, he's a guy that kind of came on the scene last year and he showed some quickness in the slot. And, Brian Poole was a good player. He fit what we needed him to do. So super excited about that. But at the same time, the Jets decided to go a little bit younger. And I think Guidry could be one of those players. So go ahead and bring Krista on in, and we'll go ahead and, talk about Mr. Guidry a little bit. So Krista, what's going on? And how you doing out there?
Good. Thank you for having me on. And you made all good points about Guidry. And what I like about Guidry is that not only that his speed is very apparent when you watch his film, but when you watch the Giants game, despite his injury, despite what happened with the slot cornerbacks and our cornerbacks in general, you just saw how good of a coverage that man did in that Giants game. And I felt like the announcers there didn't give him enough credit because that coverage was pretty much perfect how he covered the Giants guy during preseason. And Guidry last year, he filled in the role for Brian Poole pretty well, and it was a shame to see Brian Poole go down last year. But if you watch him in the Greg Williams type defense, he really thrived under that defense. And I know the one knock that scouts had with Guidry was his ability to tackle, but I think he's been improving with his tackling skills. His cover skills have been pretty well. He's been able to cover the fast receivers. Of course, it helps when you're one of the fastest guys from last year's draft covering him. But his speed has been an asset to this defense, and I know the competition at slot cornerback has been a very fun one to watch, especially since I'm at practice. It's fun seeing him go against Michael Carter and Elijah Campbell. Everything seems to be a very tight. I like Michael Carter as well, but I just like Guidry a little bit more simply because of his speed. I like Carter too. I think he offers versatility inside and outside, but I just like Guidry in the slot. I like his ability to his tackle. I like his ability to be able to cover the fast receivers. I like his ability to do all that. I think speed is such an asset to have on the defense, and Guidry has plenty of that. If you look at his previous history of Guidry, he's been competing in all these matches from his time when he lived in Texas, moved to California, competed all these track matches, and he did pretty well. He was even ranked in the top 10 on quite a lot of them. He's one of the fastest guys, and I just think there's just so much potential how this defensive coordinator could potentially use him. And I'm excited. I know that our cornerback room is shaky, but I think if you look back last year at how he did against the Rams, how he tackled, I think that showed you his potential. And what you saw against the Giants, he showed you his ability to cover. And I'm just excited to see that slot cornerback position. I know it's a pretty much a close one, but I just really, really think Guidry's going to take that slot cornerback role.
Absolutely. Well, I think that, he's got an excellent opportunity to do so. I mean, we spoke about this a couple weeks ago with the secondary. They're so green and they're kind
Mhm.
of using this year as a testing ground for these young guys. So
Mhm.
they can see moving forward how much resources they need to use on that position group. And so, I think it's a smart play. I think this is the
Mhm.
year where there's no expectations, and there shouldn't be any expectations put on this two-win team coming off all the changes that they had to do. And I believe this is the time where you would take chances on this to find out what young guys are going to be good enough to hold on to, which guys are more the second-tier guys, and you'll know exactly what you need to go in. And the Jets have good draft capital. They can draft literally a lockdown corner if they want to, a new linebacker if they
Mhm.
want to. They can move around and do a bunch of different things with the capital that they have. So, why not? Why not let these young guys prove it? And Guidry's one of those guys. And in the slot, you have to be prepared to have the speed to cover. This isn't
Mhm.
leftovers. The guys in the slots, really fast, shifty guys. You need someone who's a little bit physical, but also has the speed to be able to cover these guys. And I think Guidry, like you said, can kind of fit the bill. And it's going to be competitive, and there's going to be
Mhm.
rotations, and so I have no doubt about that in this defense. But as far as starting, I think Guidry might be one of those guys where this is going to be a huge game for him, and it's not going to be easy playing
Mhm.
against Aaron Rodgers, and especially because Aaron Rodgers has had a chance to kind of look at this team over the last few days and kind of probably pick up a few things about what they want to do. And it's probably going to be funny too, because Zach is probably going to be trying to do maybe some of the things that Aaron has told him to do. And what I want to know from you, Krista, how long do you think Zach should actually play in this game? I know people are a little bit shook with the Lawson injury, but I don't think that should really have any type of bearing whatsoever in how much Zach Wilson plays. With the shortened preseason, how long do you think he should play against the Pack on Saturday?
I'm with you. I think he should play as much as possible, as at least half of the quarter, if not three quarters. You made good points. The fact that we lost that one preseason game is huge, and I know that's mostly backups, but we need to get Zach Wilson in, and that's why I like the Jets being able to practice with not only the Packers but with the Eagles as well to expose Zach Wilson to different types of defenses. And I just think for Zach Wilson, we don't want him to be too raw. Producers. I'm sorry. Yes, I think Zach Wilson needs to play a little bit more. I have to disagree with the producer there. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
need Zach Wilson to get that experience. I need him to feel what it's like to have linebackers, pass rushers coming at you because he's not used to that back to what he's used to in his old conference. And he said the game is a lot faster. I need him to experience it firsthand. So when he goes against our good friend Carolina Panthers and Sam Darnold, he's not taken by surprise. Like, oh my gosh, it's so much faster. I want him to get as much. I'm with you, Dan. I think he needs to experience as much as possible. Even when you said with Jordan Love, if Jordan Love's out there, I want Zach Wilson out there. I'm 100% in agreement with you out there. I just want Zach Wilson to gain the experience now and not be like a lost puppy dog in week one.
Absolutely. I agree 100%, Krista. Thanks for joining us here for Krista's Corner, talking about Mr. Guidry there, who has a shot at being the Jets starting slot corner. And hey, listen, that's what we're here for. We're here to talk about these guys, and so we're going to talk about them. But, I'm sitting here and I'm wondering what's next, right? What's next for this team? What do we want to see? In the first game here, against the Giants, I think the way you looked at it is, He said, Wilson did everything that you wanted him to do. He was clean with the football. Footwork looked sharp. He didn't look phased by the moment at all. People could say, oh, well, it's just, 6 for 9, 63 yards. But if he didn't make those completions and, he was 2 for 9 and 25 yards, it would have been all over the back paper. So I think looking at it, a lot of those throws were third down throws, extending drives. I think that's important. And I think that's an overlooked discussion when looking at his performance last week against the Giants. I mean, being crucial and sharp on third down is important. And having him come out there, I don't care who it's against, being able to make proper throws on third down in your first real action against NFL football, I think is a good thing. You could build off of that here. But what we're going to have to see is I want to see how he reacts when he goes 2 or 3 series and it doesn't look good, or 2 and 3 series and it does, and then he does run into trouble. I want to see how he battles adversity here against the Packers. This is a step up in competition, in 2 ways. Defensively is one thing, but offensively, the Packers are going to put pressure on you to kind of keep up with the points. And so I want to see how he adjusts to that. Does he try to kind of show what he has, or does he stay within the offense and you see more of a conservative Wilson? We don't really know how he's going to play in the NFL, and we really don't know how LaFleur is going to use him out of the gate. I thought it was a good spread when he was in the game, but again, it was only 2 series, so how do you really know? I think they're going to start off trying to run the ball, most nights or days, and get the running game going, work off the play action, pre-snap movement, and then, take his shots. And so I don't know. I can't tell you the Jets are going to win on a Saturday necessarily. I'll probably give them the L as far as their first team offense, but I'm interested to see how the rest of the second team plays and so on, because I do think the Jets have a lot of good depth as you move on to the team, a lot more than they had last year. And I think that's where they can probably take the game against the Packers if they don't run it up early or anything like that. So for this, I'm not looking, again, it's a preseason game, but I'm not looking for the Jets to try to win the football game and go out of their way to keep Zach extra in the game to win or anything like that. What I'm saying is I just need to have the guy work, right? We want to see him work again, because we don't know. We've never seen, without this extra preseason game gone, how are they going to take that third preseason game? Is it going to be just kind of a dress rehearsal? If so, I need to see this guy play at least a half to 3/4 of football so he's ready week 1. I mean, you're going to Carolina, man. You want this kid prepared. You want him loose. You want him feeling confident. You don't want him going in there and getting his real first taste of full game action, his first professional NFL game. I think that's ridiculous. So I think he should definitely play a full half, maybe even, again, 3/4. What else I want to see? Probably be Quinnen Williams if he's actually going to play, just to see how he's moving out there, take our minds off of Carl Lawson a little bit. See how Packers play him too. Do you see a lot of double teams? I know a lot of things are vanilla, especially offensively and defensively for most teams. But they're still not trying to get their quarterback hit and beat up. So, they might do some things like that. So I don't know. You guys tell me what you think the score is. I'll go 28-17 Packers Saturday. Don't forget, guys, early game, 4:25. Not a night game on Saturday. So listen, we appreciate all your support out there, especially on the radio show. Please check us out anywhere to get podcasts, Spotify, Google, Apple. Just type in Jets Guru. Please check out our Twitter, which Ramon is the one that kind of runs the Twitter mostly. Does a great job out there. That's at Guru Jets. I try to get Jets Guru. They wouldn't give it to me. So at Guru Jets, and then on Instagram, Jets Guru as well. And thank you again so much for all the support, all the likes and shares on the articles that we write and the content that we put out, especially our producer, JR, who's out here stitching together nice video clips for you guys and putting together a well-produced show. So give it up for him. Next week, he'll be out of town. And so he's gone. So I'm going to be out here by myself, guys, solo. But that's okay. You guys still love me too, without all the bells and whistles, right? So appreciate all the support. Please share right now. As always, we don't talk politics. We don't curse. We don't do any of that. It's just all Jets football and content. So I appreciate all the support, guys. JETS, Jets. And I think JR's got a little something special for you guys. Maybe. I'm not sure. We'll see.
I don't have nothing special, but I'm going to end it off with some Aaron Rodgers, Zach Williams clips.
Okay, so then that's something special then. I mean, that's a little something, right?
Cool.
Well, guys,
Here we go.
Have a good night. Bye.
It's fun to see him. I got to talk to him various times throughout the offseason. Because of the similarities in offenses, I wanted to hear kind of the play calls, just to see what kind of carryover there was. And also I wanted to talk to Mike and Zach kind of about the operation a little bit. Obviously, I've been around a long time and called my own 2-minute for a number of years, well over a decade. So I wanted to give them a couple things to maybe think about in their own. He's a first-time coordinator. He's a first-time starter. There's just some things in the operation that I felt like I could help with, and that's, I hope Getsy's not upset with me. Both times in the special teams periods, I went over and talked to the quarterbacks. I just wanted to, talk with Zach and James and Mike and Josh. Just because that's the best part about this is just getting to see other guys you know about or get to meet and talk ball with during that time is fun.
You guys were on opposite fields, but did you get any chance to talk to Aaron and pick his brain at all? What were those conversations like?
Yeah, he's a cool guy. He came up to me, and I've talked to him before in the past, and he's got a lot of knowledge. He's a smart dude. He knows what's going on out there. So it's cool to just kind of ask him about footwork. What's going on the field, and what he's seeing, and if I could spend more time with him, just keep asking questions, I would.
What did you pick up from him just watching on the sideline, being that close?
Yeah, it's hard, right? It's like I want to do what he's doing, but when you got 16 years of experience and the checks and calls he's making on the field, the coaches first of all don't want me to do that, right? It's just too much on someone's plate. There's not many guys I'd say in the league that can do what he's doing out there as far as just seeing what's going on, changing plays. But I'd say the biggest thing I picked up is 2-minute drill, just how calm and collected he is. He's kind of just out there, almost kind of like he's just messing around, like playing backyard football. He's having a good time, and he makes it work. Yeah, 100%. He's always been someone I've definitely modeled my game after. I've tried to always kind of copy what he's been doing. Because he's done it the right way for such a long time, and he's just a fun player to watch, and he just plays the game the right way. Yeah, James is a big fanboy. He was getting a little nervous over it. No, I'm a big fanboy too. We all got to kind of pretend like we've been there before, but we enjoy just being out here and being able to talk to him.
If you could pick one part of his game and add it to yours, what would it be?
Yeah, that's tough. He's got a lot of, obviously the way that he throws the ball is amazing, but I wouldn't say that's something, you necessarily need to be as successful as he is. I would just say, the way he understands the game, kind of what's going on, the way he's able to change things, pick things up, and still, stay calm is pretty impressive.
All I hear, go get the money. So I go get it. Hate means I do something right.